Welcome everybody to El Cinco de Mayo, May's Concrete Town Hall. Very exciting. April just blew by. We usually start this with new and news. I don't know if anything particularly new has happened in the last few weeks. I feel like we've just been kind of in this limbo of staying in my call center of a living room. I don't know. Andy, are we missing any news, or is it just been
I don't think so. March seemed to last 10 years and April lasted 10 minutes.
yeah,
It was
yeah,
really strange. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
No, there's been a flurry of activity on version 9 in GitHub, but beyond that, I don't believe there's any huge community news to
Well, that's
share.
frankly probably a good thing at this time. Everything is the same. The sun is still coming up. Everything is just fine. So let's jump right into Karma. So I've got the Karma leaderboard up. If you are VJing Corbin, we have a gamification system built into concrete5.org. So if you help people promote the project or do work in the PRB or on the core, you get points. And every week or so, we give away add-ons for someone randomly in the kind of top 10 of the leaderboard for each one of those types of points. Looks like most recently we've got Hutman, Abe Barbotin, and John the Fish winning stuff for helping people, promoting the project, and doing the work. So thank you very much to all of you who spend the time working on our community site, which we are actively re-architecting and scheming the brand new shiny version of now. So know that we care and that we really appreciate the work that you're doing. Andy, how's GitHub looking and all that?
Yeah, we've accepted a lot into GitHub in the last month. We've accepted pull requests into develop and into the version 9 branch. Definitely going full steam ahead on version 9, but when we get fixes and things like that that can go into a version that might come out before version 9, we definitely like those too. We've accepted pull requests from Biplob, Deek87, Dimger, Bitterdev, Hishi, I am Pedro Piedad, Kiki Usuki, Corvin Santo. Who's that guy? Manio, Matt 9MG, Emlokati, Mike Esparza, Enclat, Rude Zuikerlicht, Zuidlerlicht, and Mike Larson, who goes by Wordish in GitHub. And and I'd probably turn this over to Mike to talk about the documentation updates too.
Is Mike Larson in
If
here?
he's here, maybe
Do we
he's
have
not.
Mike Larson?
I can do it
He's
too. I've got
probably
it in
looming
front
in the background. So why don't we?
Sure. We've gotten in the past month. We've gotten documentation updates from the core team, and also from Biplob, Dimger as well. I think Lemon Brain, Auto Carl, and Surefire.
Nice. That's always a joy to see you take guesses at where spaces should be in our user handles.
It is. It really is. Some
Roll the
days,
dice.
some days you have it. Some days you don't.
You got it.
I'll leave it to you to determine
I
what
feel like
day
it was
this
killer.
was.
I feel like you did really great. And thank you to all those people as well. It's really cool to see the activity that's going on in there. And yeah, obviously the version 9 stuff, we're going to show a little bit more of that later today. Documentation stuff is super important as well. So great stuff. Thanks so much. We are forging right ahead. This is going to be a pretty nimble town hall this month, I think. So if you have questions, you should be asking them in our Slack channel now. So when we get to the Q&A section, you can keep us on the hook. That said, let's jump into the showcase. So this site I found running concrete5. I actually read the URL wrong and thought it was Panterize, and I thought, oh wow, I've got to show that. It's really Partnerize, which is cool too. It's a sexy marketing site for what looks like a reasonably well-heeled startup around finding the right partners for your company. And they kind of help you enter different markets. And they have a very forward-leaning design. These
That's cool.
actiony drop downs and these super happy stock people who are doing things, and there's some kind of app that they're promoting. Um,
Really
oh,
like those drop downs. That was cool.
yeah, that's sexy looking site. Um, let's see. I bet you they got this little job section. If anyone's looking for work, there we go. Whoa. Ambition, focus, ownership, and teamwork.
Breakfast.
Oh, that's cute. Um, yeah, look, they've got a pretty significant team there.
Yeah.
Do some concrete 5 for stuff. They also have a learning center. So we've seen this often with concrete 5. You're building a marketing site for a kind of mid-sized company. You get a lot of content pages. Concrete 5 does really well with kind of giving you that flexibility to build pages with stripes of content and really kind of change things as your marketing shows what works. Um, Also, an easy to build something that is a little more I don't know how you would say, like almost more database focused. So if you've got kind of like a resource guide, we've seen a fair amount of this kind of stuff where it's like, I want to have a bunch of resources, maybe be able to search and sort them. Yep. Surprise, surprise. It'll show me how. I guess there we go.
Yeah. Looks familiar.
Yeah, so you can tag all this stuff and kind of build this section out, and that's tremendous for long tail marketing. So cool stuff to do. I think HubSpot really kind of championed this approach of make lots of small bits of content and position yourself as the expert in your field, and then the customers will come. Cool to be able to do it in a platform that you actually own, so you can build kind of a destination, and this stuff can. Oh, I don't think I want to download anything. This can. Ooh, look at that drop shadow. This stuff can grow with you, so pretty cool. Partnerize, sexy website. Looks like we probably got some internationalization stuff here. Let's see what that does. Shoot. Yeah, looks like they're running the internationalization stuff. So yeah,
Cool.
pretty cool. Let's not translate because that kind of makes it all very good. There you go. Least startup Partnerschaften. Sorry, German friends. So one thing that if you don't know, concrete 5 does a really interesting approach on internationalization. Instead of saying that every page and every piece of content on it will be translated into each language, we actually build a separate tree for every language that you're gonna, or every really localization, because you might have, you might have Spanish for South America and Spanish for Spain, that kind of thing. But we give you a separate tree for every language, so you can really have some flexibility with it. You might find that your China language doesn't have a press room. And so you can just make your entire press section forward over to the contact page. So you can kind of map different sections in different languages to each other. So you can still, let's see if they've got this set up the way I would do it. If I go to a page here, yeah, leave it in German. That's cool. And then I switch to UK English. Well, don't me back to the home page, but you could have that work so it actually knew that you were on that contact page and dumped you over to the contact page in the appropriate language. So you really get the best of both worlds. You can easily switch between things, but as your kind of your local managers are kind of like, yeah, for our market we need to do this different, or in German we need more room for those huge headlines. You have some flexibility and you can kind of change stuff out. So pretty clever approach, works really well for a lot of stuff, especially when you're getting into this more organic marketing thing. So there you go. There's your little showcase site for this month. Something to show your prospective clients. Partnerize.com, using concrete 5, and I hope loving it. Let's see. We're about to go into show and tell. So 2 different things we want to show and tell today. I'm going to show off a little bit of blogging with concrete 5. And then Andy's going to kind of update us on where we're at with version 9. So the way I'm going to do that, I think, let's see if I can make this bigger. I'm going to play this video and talk over it, and hopefully that all works. Somebody stop me if it doesn't. So what we've got here is a trial that I just set up off of concrete 5. And this is the default blog stuff that is set up in free concrete5. Everyone gets this. And we're kind of in a blog post, and you can see I bring up the pages panel. I can make a new entry page, and because it's a blog, we kind of blow right by in context editing there, and we dump you into Composer, which is our form-based editing interface. So here I am typing a blog title, and automatically builds URL slug, and making a short description. And as I'm doing this, the system is pinging back to the server, and it auto saves there in the background, right? So if I get distracted because my kids are at home doing Zoom school, I can come back and this stuff will be saved. You can pick topics, so that helps organize things. You can pick a thumbnail, and if your blog template uses it, now there's going to be pretty plants in the corner. And, there you are, blogging. Um, Feels like a very clean version of WordPress. I'm in a dashboard, things autosave, it's a big long form. I can jump over to the page and see what it looks like in edit mode. I can change blocks, I can make it unique, or I can just save it for later. In this case, I'm just going to save it. I don't want to publish it. And this is a draft now. As an admin, I can see it, but it's not public. And all of my drafts show up in my little sidebar, so I can always get back to them. And when I'm ready to publish, I simply come to the page, click the pencil icon. I can publish it in the future if I want, or I can just go ahead and publish it now, which I do. And boom, I just posted this super compelling blog article to my example site right there at the top of the list. I blogged. So, to us, and admittedly, we're not, hit pause on this, we're not professional bloggers. Well, Andy's actually pretty,
Once
you do
upon a time.
pretty good with your blog. You should
Yeah, in
check
spite of
out
my lack of activity.
andrewember.com, like and subscribe. But we are certainly not blog and SEO experts. But so because concrete5 is open source and there is a rich and dynamic community, there are any number of blog add-ons in our marketplace. So if you're thinking, well, everything that I saw is cute, but not enough for our organization, we have bigger, more complicated needs, I present to you C5DK blog. This is from the Denmark concrete5 crew. It is in our marketplace for about $40. And I have kind of chopped together this video from some stuff they have on YouTube. You can't hear this robot lady, so I'm just going to kind of talk over it. You can see there's like a custom dashboard area, and you get a bunch of settings around kind of how the blog looks. So you can kind of change some of the formatting stuff without having to be a developer, and that's pretty cool. You can change the way they deal with images, and we're going to see here in a second they've kind of built their own image editor and file manager, which is pretty cool. Let's see if I can jump ahead a little bit. Just a bunch of styling stuff. Whoops, didn't want to jump that far. This is pretty interesting. So they've got multiple blogs set up on this site. So standard blog, news, blah, blah, blah. Because you can kind of use that blogging architecture for different problems. Like when we were showing Partnerize, like that whole resource section, it's kind of a blog. You got individual posts and they come from people. So what they've got going on here is you can actually kind of assign roles to different groups. And then they've got an editing interface that we're going to show you here in a second, that it exists kind of outside of the concrete5 toolbar. So you could have blog contributors that don't have access to your backend. So let's see, I hit this play on this guy. And she's walking out of the way so we can log in. There we go. We're going to log in as Jane Doe, who is not an admin. And she's going to scroll the page down and show you. Come on, lady, scroll down. There you go. So now Jane Doe's got a little, this is kind of the My Account widget. And as Jane Doe goes into the blog section that she's been given access to, she's got this, look at that, two mice. She's got this new post interface right here. And it takes you to what looks to me to be a reasonably custom interface that's pretty sexy. They've kind of got their own tactile form deal happening here. But you can see, they've shown you which blogs you have permissions to post under. They've got their own date picker for when this thing is going to go live. It can go unlive too if you want to do that. You can, as you roll over things you can edit, you get a little form element and you can type through it. typing's really slow here, so we're just going to jump ahead. Boom, 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 boom. Push your content. It's great. Here we go. Now, come on.
Wow. I
Yeah,
saw
you're gonna
something
wait, wait,
intriguing.
wait, wait for it, dude. It gets even better. So yeah, there's like a full-on custom image editor because, or image picker, because the file manager in current version of concrete5 is sometimes a lot for an end user to deal with, and some of that with version 9 is changing a bit, but again, it's open source, so it's cool to see how people kind of solve problems that they're facing using concrete as a framework and say, look, it's a great start, but I want it to do more like this, and we think that's fantastic. Yeah, adding a bunch of tags. Talking about tags. Tags are ways that you can organize content. There's our topic tree. So you remember in the kind of the quick blog post that I showed, we just checked, I think, humor, and there we are doing the same basic idea. Here you go. Boom, full on little image editor in here. So if you want to recrop your little pooch, that's cool. You can do that.
Nice. That thumbnail preview is cool. That's very helpful.
And these little rollover buttons are kind of interesting. Boom, yeah, so there you are. I mean, a more powerful blog. This person is kind of limited to just a certain area. You see that we've got the bio of the author. I believe they've got a model for dealing with this in multiple languages. I don't know if that just extends ours or if it's its own deal. There's also some workflow that we're kind of showing here, where here's a blog article that hasn't been approved. And I think depending on who you are, yeah, we're gonna log in as somebody else. Do this real quick, blah, 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 blah. So you can see kind of, you get some sense as to who's doing what. There's the approval stuff that's just built into the side of the page, so you don't have that pencil icon and all that. It's just a little bit more I don't know, community ready. If you're going to have a kind of a group blog and you don't want to give them access to the CMS, here you go. Yeah, here we're kind of looking at priority of who's going to publish what when. You kind of get a little bit of a scheduling tool. So blogging for big boys. There you go. So that is, if I can find that page, I had it up somewhere. Oh, nope. Let's go to concrete5.org. You can find it in our marketplace of add-ons. I'm gonna just find it again. I had it up, but I had too many windows up. There we go. $39. All of that power, and you can watch that video, and without me talking over it, you can have the robot lady talk to you, and she'll explain how everything works. And I'm sure the crew at C5 Denmark would be happy to answer any questions as well. Look at that, 5 or 4.9 out of 5. Somebody had a bad day, but that is an excellent average review. So pretty cool stuff. It's really interesting. Yeah, I mean, to me, blogging is it's really cool to see people do personal expression. It always struck me as like, well, sure, you can build a blog with concrete5. I mean, it's kind of like saying, can you make a driveway with concrete? I'm like, oh, make anything you want. It's cool to see different people kind of put together pre-built solutions for different needs, and kind of just the wide range of solutions and creativity that goes into that. So great job to the Denmark crew for building this blogging package. And for those of you who need something more powerful than what concrete5 does out of the box, here you go. That's what I got on blogging. Andy, what do you got on version 9?
All right, yeah, let's take a look. Let me share my screen real quick here. All right. Okay, so here we go. So this will probably look familiar to you. This is a version 9 site running the standard elemental theme. And so I was just going to take a quick walkthrough of some of the stuff that we have going. This is very much an in development copy on my laptop. So certain things are really close to done. Certain things are half in pieces, and certain things haven't really been touched yet. So if something looks a little weird, it's probably half in pieces, but you'll get a sense of what we're looking at here. So right off the bat, you can see we've got a kind of a little less busy login screen when we go to log in. And so that's what I'm going to do. You can also see that some of our new form treatments, our new form skin is on display here as well. We've got some different labels for checkboxes, different button treatments, different headings and label treatments and borders and stuff. And this is all built on Bootstrap 4 and a custom skin on Bootstrap 4.
I like this. Is much less intimidating than there's just less going on.
Yeah,
Less interface,
yeah.
less intimidating. Same
Yeah.
functionality. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so this is the welcome back dashboard page. We still have the picture of the day in the background, but it's just a little less, the picture, the arbitrary picture took up like the top half of the screen. It's just kind of weird. A lot of this stuff may change in terms of what goes where, but in terms of how it is presented, I'm pretty happy with this new work. The dashboard panel here is still in process. It's going to function a little differently, look kind of similar to this. No huge changes, but this is definitely one of those in pieces ones. And so if I kind of walk around the back end a little bit, you can kind of see some of the new stuff that we have going on here. This is a site that has multilingual installed currently. We've got kind of a prettier, sort of a little bit more friendly tree component that we're using. It's the same component, but just with some different different skin to it. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with the way this is starting to turn out. Just feels a little bit less. I mean, there's only so many ways you can present this data, but I like the bigger font sizes. The icons are nice. You can kind of see we've also got a sort of pervasive breadcrumb, which I think is helpful as well. Because as part of this design, we are going to be doing away with the omnipresent navigation that's here. It will kind of link into where you're at in the tree. So you'll be able to, let's just turn that off. You'll be able to kind of see that you're in the full sitemap and be able to traverse back up to the top. But, if you go into system and settings, for example, and you go into basics and you go into name and attributes, by default, like you don't even know where you're at in this right-hand menu. So this is actually going to be cleaned up quite a bit, but also this new breadcrumb at the top of the screen is pervasive and will kind of help you navigate around as well.
Nice.
And so as we kind of move around a little bit more, you can see we've got new full width page, full width search views kind of starting to come together. As you navigate things like stacks and global areas, this breadcrumb changes as well. So you can kind of see that this breadcrumb might have more context. It's not just literal pages. It might link you to different stuff and do all kinds of different things based on where you're at. That's going to be the case in the file manager, which you can see is starting to come together as well.
Nice.
Not a lot of completely new functionality here, but we're presenting it in a way that I think just looks a bit nicer and cleaner. We're using SVG icons all over the place so they can kind of have different on and off states with transitions that just make things feel a little bit more polished than they may have in the past. And then you can also see, if we hop back to the front end of the site, we also have answered repeated kind of people have requested this for a long time. They wanted the help moved from, many people didn't even know we had help because they didn't know that there was this weird little blue thing that looked a part of the theme, but was not. That we have moved the help into the toolbar in both the dashboard and the front end, and it's pervasive. In the dashboard, if you go to the sitemap, for example, and you hit this, you can see we've got these more resources down here, but we also have page-specific help here. If you go to the front end of your site and you click this, you can see we've got these guides that many people probably don't even know that we have. You can watch videos on how to work with concrete5, and you can learn how to use things like the toolbar throughout the entire process. And so hopefully it should be a lot easier for people to get started. We are taking another look at our in-page editing experience. I don't have too much to show there, but it will get a little bit easier as well. Nothing dramatic, just trying to revisit some of our decisions around areas and what should have borders and what should not. You can see we've got kind of some new dialogue treatments and new tab treatments. Again, nothing groundbreaking, but if you have to spend all day looking at something, it's nice to have it be a little bit polished. We definitely, with 5.7 and version 8, we did a lot of cleanup, but then as years go by, you get little stray bits here and there that might tweak interfaces and make them not look quite as polished as you'd hoped. So we're just taking another look at all of these things. We're lightening up all the panels. You can kind of see that coming together as well. You know, the drag and drop stuff works it's similar to how it does today, but just things as they're coming together are starting to just look a lot friendlier, a lot less kind of dark and difficult to look at, and just a bit more kind of, I guess, uniform in the way that they function. So kind of getting that kind of stuff here as well. And then yeah, beyond that, like, that's pretty much where we're at here. We've got a lot of things actively moving in GitHub. There's a lot of pull requests open that I'm going to be reviewing this week. And we're also continuing to add new functionality here as well. And new, you know, not just new UI over existing stuff, but UI over some new features as well. So very happy with it, and happy to see where it goes as well.
Yeah, that's super exciting. Great job, Andy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see. That's what we've got this week. So I think, are there questions? Can we talk about Q&A, or are we
We've
getting
got a
immediately back
question.
to work? All right. Let's have it.
It's not regarding anything that we went over today,
Perfect.
but it is you know, something that keeps coming up. So do we have a release plan for version 8 5.3?
We don't, but we know we want to do it. It's kind of depends on, you know, our other various commitments and factors. It's one of those. Yeah. What would you add to that, Franz? There are many things in there that would be beneficial. No immense showstoppers, although I know that there are probably some things that we'd like to get out there in terms of fixes and bugs.
Yeah, I know there's some fixes that we're going to be releasing in probably like 2.5 months or so. So I would say the release plan is a couple months, right? Yeah, we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I could see that coming out around the same time as a version 9 public beta, you know, just as nothing that, you know, version 9 itself isn't going to come out in a couple months, but I think a public beta to see, you know, testing marketplace add-ons, testing this, that, and the other, that might be the right time to do both of those.
Nice. We got a couple more, a few more I've rolled in now. So one from John the Fish. With the imminence of version 9, what has been implemented to manage licenses on multi-site?
Nothing yet, but that's one of the things that one of the reasons that version 9 isn't, you know, it's getting pretty close in terms of the actual UI update and the functionality, and a lot of the big stuff under the hood in terms of moving to Bootstrap 4 is actively being addressed. But there is this big elephant in the room regarding marketplace support and multi-site support, and we need the new marketplace in order to launch version 9, because we need support for multiple licenses baked into the core and into the marketplace. And so those things are kind of, those are the things that one requires the other. So that's one of the reasons why the actual timeline for version 9 is further out than it might look, given how polished the interface is starting to see. So there's nothing in there yet, but that's because we're doing other stuff, but we're not going to just forget about that and launch it without support for that.
That makes sense. And that kind of answers 2 more questions that we had come in. One from Stu Black. We're planning, is the C5 marketplace getting a redesign? The answer to that is yes. That's going to be part of what Andy was just talking about with the, you know, extra support for version 9. And then another one, timeline to multi-site capability. That's a functionality that will be in version 9. So I think we kind of answered that. Do you guys want to add to any of those?
My internet connection dropped out, but I can guess the question. Yeah, just as Andy, I'm assume said, like, this is all tied together. The marketplace has to be relaunched with version 9, so we can do proper support for licensing around it. So if you're curious as to how it works, you're going to be able to find plenty of it under the hood and stuff that's up there today. But yeah, that's going to be one nicely orchestrated launch when it's all cooked up and ready to serve.
Nice. Some more coming in. Just stop me when we're done. Another one from John the Fish. Are version 8 themes going to work with version 9 without modification?
They should, yes. Right now, it's one of those things where what we typically do is we rip out a lot of stuff in order to try our best to not have cruft, accumulate. You're never 100% successful, but we try our best to remove a lot of styles in JavaScript as we're doing new things. And then during the beta process, we see what about legacy stuff and what about themes not built for the current version, what breaks and blocks as well. And then we add back things where appropriate, and hopefully not before actually launching the thing, although sometimes things slip through and we wait to 9.1 or whatever. But yeah, in the big picture, I'm not 100% sure that's the case right as of today. They should be. But yeah, we are adding a new theme approach called Bedrock that you as a theme developer can hook into to build your themes. But that is really just a set of JavaScripts and Sass files that you can easily include in your own JavaScript and the CSS that you ship as a theme developer. Nothing about how themes actually run has changed. So, and the only caveat to that is the theme customizer, which currently doesn't work and is something that we are actually talking about and trying to actively discuss that functionality as well. So that's the one thing that may not work out of the box. It won't necessarily die. It just may not, it may not continue to function exactly as it did. But no, I don't think that most themes will have to be rewritten in order to function in the core.
Nice. And to piggyback on that, Drummer B, I believe it's pronounced, asked, will version 8 be upgradable to version 9? And the answer is definitely yes.
Yes.
That's always a goal is to maintain backwards compatibility, absolutely at the level of upgrading. And if we weren't, we'd be very explicit about it. Another one.
One thing that I will add to that, though, is that is true. And there's actually currently probably some of our point release upgrades may have been more extensive than what version 9 looks like currently, because we're not doing a tremendous amount today yet of lots of database modifications and things like that. It's just adding some new features and some of these new framework features as well. But one thing that is going to be the case is version 9 requires PHP 7.2. So, that while it is true that if your environment is up to date, you'll be able to upgrade from 8 to 9. Know that you will, if you're running on PHP 5.6 or PHP 7 or .0 or whatever, you will have to upgrade your environment prior to upgrading. Fortunately, version 8 and version 5.7 works on PHP 7, so you can get ready for this today. But that is something to be aware of.
Nice, that's a good point. Another question from Deke. He's asking, will the version 9 dashboard be fully themable? So he's asking specifically if they can release themes covering everything in the dashboard.
I've seen some stuff recently actually that leads me to believe that it is fully themable today. So if it's not, there might be some creative problem solving. I don't know. I don't think we're planning on opening up a section of the marketplace that is dashboard themes. And it's definitely not a separated front end and back end. They're fairly tightly coupled still in terms of controllers feeding data into the actual single pages of the dashboard. But yeah, if you built a dashboard theme out of Bootstrap 4, you could retheme the marketplace, or you could retheme the dashboard.
Nice. Yeah, I think that's the last in the list. I see people typing.
Uh-oh. Type fast.
John's still going. What you got for us, John?
It's going to be a thoughtful question. Get ready, Andy.
One thing that came up earlier was that when Andy was showing his new site, the dashboard showed a add-on on the welcome screen that wasn't actually available for the version of concrete5 that they use. Is that something we're planning on including in the concrete5 rebuild, making those things a little more context aware?
Which thing was it?
Like in the welcome section.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Maybe not.
Gotcha.
I mean, I think you could argue either way on that. Like, obviously, you don't want people trying to install things that don't work, but you also don't want to kind of limit someone's exposure to what's available in the marketplace to just what they have on some legacy version. Like, why would I ever upgrade? So
I think there might be some bugs around actually like documentation, intelligent search, not pulling in the right stuff like that. We should probably try to address if that is still the case. But yeah, in terms of the personalized approach to the welcome back screen, right now it's kind of difficult to do.
Yeah, and there's some questions around like GDPR and data collection and stuff like that maybe people wouldn't be as comfortable with. I think there is a little bit of opportunity to maybe show some give higher weight to newer things. But yeah, it's something we can look at as we rebuild that stuff.
I mean, I definitely think the way that feed offers stuff will change. I mean, I know that news flow site still exists, and as we rebuild the community, that's going to get rethought. So
yeah, and I know that the data sources for that page are slow. I'm just trying to find a nicer term, but they're slow. And they are, they hamper the login process if they're not cached. So I expect we will take a look at how we feed data to those pages and try and maybe make it a little bit easier for us to push data out, but also, make it a little less require many offsite connections to pull back data slowly.
I do think strategically that is a less of a personalized feed and more of a here's what's happening with concrete5. So like if there's add-ons that you can't install on your site, like, well, your site's not going to let you do that. Like when you actually get to installing the add-on, or if you're shopping through your own interface, like we have opportunities to let you know at that point that, well, you can't use C5DK blog because it only works with, that's not true actually, they work with I think it works with version 5.7 and above, but I think better to trap that there and be like, well, if you want this thing, you're going to have to upgrade to the latest version than to try to do a bunch of personalization on kind of the initial experience.
We've got a fresh question from John. He's asking, is there going to be a maximum compatible PHP in MySQL version? To answer that a little bit, the answer is no. I mean, the maximum is always going to be whatever was supported at the time of the release. So when version 9 comes out, we might be lucky and support newer versions of PHP with it. But if that version, PHP 8 comes out and that version doesn't support PHP 8, what you should look for is newer versions of concrete5 that will have been built to support that, instead of, thinking, is this built to support future versions? So I guess the answer to that is just we work we work hard to support, the latest versions of PHP and MySQL. And if there's ever any kind of discrepancy between the latest and what we actually support, that will be noted in the release notes and on the version support page.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add to that. That sounds right to me.
Nice. Well, I think that's the end of it. Yeah, that's the end of my list.
There you go.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, happy El Cinco de Mayo. Everybody stay at home and enjoy a lonely margarita with yourself. And yeah, we'll see you guys again in a month. Thanks so much.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, everybody.